columnist I ever read was the Boston Globe's great George Fraser, who once said he never wanted to meet politicians because he was afraid he might like them, and then he couldn't write about them objectively. I understand what he meant. Here is the moment when I met Donald Trump just 3 months ago. Donald was making his grand entrance in the ballroom of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and I was sitting alone at a table minding my own business. He spotted me, called my name, and watch what he did. He stretches out his hand for a handshake. He does that to a guy who savaged him 4 years ago when he was talking about running for president. I bothered him so much back then that he threatened to sue me, but he didn't care about any of that when he saw me. He just wanted to shake my hand and wish me well. Now, that moment wasn't going to happen if it was up to me. I wasn't going to go out of my way to say something nice to Donald Trump and shake his hand. Because on that night, in that moment, Donald was a bigger man than I was, and I liked him for that. It wasn't the first time Donald reached out to me. A year ago, when I returned to this show after a lengthy hospitalization and recovery from a car accident, Donald watched that first show when I came back. I really didn't know how to return to the show, meaning I just didn't know what to say, what had happened to me, or if I could actually talk about it at all. I was very unsure of myself that night. And as it turned out, I spent the first 15 minutes of the show thanking from the heart all of the people who put me back together, and then I tried to move the show closer to its regular jurisdiction. The first email I read the next day was a message from Donald Trump to me. It said, Donald Trump's office called this morning. They wanted to express Donald Trump's sentiments. He said he watched the show last night and thought Larry was great. And that touched me deeply. And when Donald Trump announced his candidacy, I welcomed it in the same spirit as Jon Stewart. This is going to be fun to cover. That's what I set out to do. That's the way I wanted to cover Donald this time. But I've gotten myself hung up on the least important thing about Donald Trump, the future president, how much money he has earned in TV. Donald is now bothered by my disbelief that I've expressed about how much money NBC paid him as the star of the Apprentice series. And today, Donald came up with a better idea than threatening to sue me this time. He challenged me to bet 100% of my salary that I am wrong about his NBC income. Now, where I come from, no one settled their disagreements with bets because none of us had any money to bet. So, no, Donald, there won't be any bet because I would never bet about anything. I just don't bet, period. And I don't want to be in a story about Donald Trump. I want to cover this campaign. And I might be wrong. I have never said I know exactly how much Donald Trump made for the entire series. I don't know. I've made semi-educated guesses about it, and I don't really care very much about it. I don't really care. And so, after I offered my guesses about it last night on this program and tried to have some fun with it, James Fallows wisely tweeted that Donald's TV income doesn't matter, and I immediately agreed with him on Twitter. Then, I stupidly jumped into talking about it again on Morning Joe today, where I, in effect, hijacked a few minutes of the show to talk about this thing that I know doesn't matter, that I've already said publicly doesn't matter. And others have expressed doubts about Donald's claims about money. Timothy O'Brien, a New York Times reporter, wrote a book about such doubts. But no one has expressed such doubts with harsher language than I have. And I'm not proud of that. I don't want the prize for the guy who uses the meanest words in a debate. I don't want to be the angry guy about Donald Trump because I'm not. And so, as I said, I do not want to be in stories about Donald Trump. I just want to sit here and cover the Donald Trump campaign. I was trying to have fun talking about Donald's money this morning, but when I watched the video of that thing this afternoon, it didn't look like fun. And when I finally shut up about this stuff this morning on the show, only then did I realize that I had been eating up time that should have been devoted to Joe and Mika's interview with April Ryan, who had just joined the panel to discuss her very important question to President Obama yesterday in the press conference about Bill Cosby. Now, I am really sorry that I wasted the
Oh,
time.
give me a
that should have
break.
been focused on what April Ryan had to say. Give April Ryan a chance to be heard again on this, because once we all